Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. I apologize for the slight delay in starting this show. And I have with me Utsav Chakrabarti. But before we talk about the topic today, please like this video. It's been a while since we have looked at events happening out of the United States, and Utsav brings us all together. He has been very active, and let's welcome Utsav Chakrabarti. Utsav, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar, Shri, and happy to be back. I hope you had a good trip.
Yeah, yes, I did. It was very, very busy. Ran around quite a bit and got a lot of things done, including releasing a new book. The important takeaway is India is very vibrant. It's getting, every time I go, I'm amazed at more progress and more progress. It's visible to the eye. So the airports are doing, expanding like crazy right now. So today's topic, is this fellow, I think of Xi Jinping as a Mungerilal because he dreams of having all these territories and he puts them in the map and he thinks that it has become mission accomplished. And that Mungerilal has a mini Mungerilal. This guy is writing to him saying annex and Arunachal. I mean, what is going on, bro? I mean, this fellow is hiding in a hole here, there, and everywhere.
Correct. And we are referencing the. Do you want me to show the screen with the letter that was written by SFJ?
Yeah, we will try to pull it up. Just keep talking.
Okay.
We'll pull it up. Yeah.
So basically, what has happened is that a very strongly anti-India, anti-Hindu Khalistani group called SFJ, which is Sikhs for Justice, ironically named, based out of US, has been working for many years to create this kind of narrative building outside India against India. And for those of you who are our listeners who follow this regularly, most people are aware of all the shenanigans that Gurpatwawant Singh Pannu, who is the head of the SFJ, does every time a prime minister from India comes, every time something connected to India, any good news connected to India, they kind of try to create a lot of noise and heckling around it. So this time it was interesting that during the summit for the BRICS that was held in South Africa just about 2 weeks ago, they wrote an open letter sitting here in New York and Washington DC, addressed to Xi Jinping, the president of the People's Republic of China, asking for two things. Basically, he asked for their support in demanding a referendum or quote unquote referendum for the creation of Khalistan. And secondly, he asked for basically, asking China to annex Arunachal Pradesh, which is very interestingly timed because recently China released a map where it showed Arunachal Pradesh as part of China. So it is well timed with Pannu's letter, which makes people, we have to all think about why this coordination is happening, or is it just a coincidence? And he asks for China to annex Arunachal Pradesh. And in the past, this has been also done by Pannu and other Khalistani groups. They keep requesting, quote unquote, China to address the Sikh soldiers in the Indian army and encourage them not to fight. So they keep doing these shenanigans and they keep trying to get attention. But what is worrisome here is that this is an organization based out of America, a non-profit based out of America, sitting in America and directly seeking China's help in destabilizing and in all real sense, creating a war in the Indian Ocean, Indo-Pacific region. And that has to be taken seriously, I think, not just by India, but also by Americans. And that is one of the reasons why this needs to be discussed.
I was looking for that picture of his letter, a copy of his letter.
I have that. Let me share
it. Go ahead and put it up.
Yes, I'm going to share this with you guys. And
sure.
It is really comical the way it is written. And I don't know if you guys see the screen.
Just bring it up, please. Yeah, we'll try and see if we can expand it.
Yeah, it says StreamYard is sharing. That's what it says.
So you're sharing a window, right? Go to the window and see if you can do a Control+ to zoom in.
Okay.
Perfect. Now we can read. Go ahead and read off of that. Yeah.
So essentially, this letter says that Sikhs for Justice is a sovereignist group, which whatever that means in his mind, which is holding first ever global Punjab referendum on the question of should Indian Punjab be an independent country. So obviously they are delusional about their Khalistan dreams. So he goes on to say, Mr. President, first of all, as a Sikh human rights group, if you can zoom down a little.
Yeah.
As a Sikh human rights group with several million followers in Punjab, which is obviously not true. There might be a couple of thousand followers in Canada and US. In Punjab, including thousands of Sikh Indian Army soldiers, again a lie, propaganda. We would like you to know that Sikhs around the world consider their homeland Punjab as Indian occupied. Another lie. In the same spirit, Sikhs consider Arunachal Pradesh as a Chinese territory occupied by India. So you can see the blatantness of this propaganda content. And then he goes on to say that 70 years of history is a witness to India's economic interests directly colliding with China's prosperity, and Union of India's territorial composition is based on the denial of right to self-determination to the indigenous people of Punjab and Arunachal Pradesh. So, he throws in the word indigenous, which is very typical of what people in the Western world want to, bring up, so he's checking all the boxes here. And Mr. President, with emerging geopolitical situation and internal ethno-religious fault lines in Union of India, now is the time for China to move forward and annex the Arunachal Pradesh through, little grammatical error here and there, Islamabad doesn't have good English writers, you have to admit. So Arunachal Pradesh through a secessionist referendum, just like India annexed Sikkim in 1975. So during 2023 BRICS, Mr. President, we urge that you declare secessionist referendum in Arunachal Pradesh and support Khalistan referendum in Punjab. Sincerely, sitting in New York, Gurpatwawant Singh Pannu. So had this not been serious in its intent, it would have been comical. Like, it would almost be like somebody's doing a stand-up show here, a stand-up comedy show. But the implications that this letter wants to derive and the seriousness with which it intends to harm the region and the politics between two big civilizational nations tells you that there is a lot of seriousness in the comical nature of this letter. And that is what we have to understand. And that's why I suggest that we take this seriously, because this is one piece of a long journey of hatred and intellectual dyslexia that could result in violence from these Khalistani cult groups.
Utsav, thanks for that letter and your thoughts on this. One thing that blows my mind is it's now more than close to a couple of months since the consulate building in San Francisco was attempted to set on fire. 3 or 4 miscreants caught it on video and claimed that they have actually done so. There was another video that was doing the round that Pannu was dead in a highway accident, and then they showed the police from, I have to laugh because it was, I think, from Wales. They took a picture from there saying that this is the police on the site. So all bunch of lies. It's very difficult to take them seriously. However, there's always an ecosystem that seems to activate itself and go into some sort of paroxysm of delight is not the right way, but right word. But I'm also making grammatical mistakes here. They just go into this an echo chamber where they start amplifying this, and the same 4 or 5 lumpets keep amplifying this. My specific question to you, so sorry for this roundabout thing. So far, neither the San Francisco Police Department nor the FBI have caught any of the miscreants. That is my information. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. Do you have any idea about whether any of these agencies have caught the miscreants? It should be pretty easy because it was done in the middle of the night. If somebody had done triage using standard tools available to check what the cell phone numbers were doing, they could have easily caught it up.
Absolutely. So this is the part that is concerning, and this is why this needs to be discussed. That the law enforcement agencies as well as the national security apparatus in countries like America, Canada, UK, Australia, they need to wake up to the possibilities of the real threat of violence, and that's not just vandalizing, how as serious as it is, a diplomatic mission, but actual street violence causing death. They need to wake up to this, because many of these organizations, including SFJ, which is an American organization essentially, and Gurpatwawant Singh Pannu has shared a stage. The guy who wrote this letter, outrageously hateful letter, has shared a stage with top leadership in Washington DC. He was on the same stage with Brownback, Ambassador Brownback, who was the lead on religious freedom during the Trump White House. So this needs to be taken seriously. And as you said, Shri, the arrests are not being made, and the issue is not being given as much importance as it should be. And I mean, one of the things that on behalf of HinduAction we tweeted was show this letter, which by the way was actually published first by a DC-based journalist named Rohit Sharma. I need to make sure that I give credit to the person who first posted this letter. So we shared this letter to Jagmeet Singh in Canada and said, hey, Jagmeet, do you really agree with this? Because Jagmeet Singh seems to agree with everything that the Khalistanis do, and he himself is a promoter of the Khalistani cause. So we shared this with him, like, let us know if you agree, and if Canada as a country agrees with this attitude of the Khalistanis vis-a-vis China. And that's where we have to constantly hammer these guys and make sure that they take a position, because there is a clear lack of seriousness, and as if it's like, it's India's problem. These idiots will, let India deal with it kind of approach. At the least, that needs to change.
Absolutely. And speaking of Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal, you notice that he never uses his last name.
Yeah.
He never says his name is Jagmeet Dhaliwal, which is the typical way a Jat Sikh would like to express themselves. They typically tend to not say the middle name, which is S, which is Singh. So it will be like Patwant Singh, Gurpatwawant Singh Pannu. So Singh is there. Gurpatwawant Pannu is what they say. Many of them do it. It's not just one group or the other. It's something that is a trait. But Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal doesn't like to use his last name, because there is one other person for the same exact name. And that man is a noted terrorist. He wants to avoid confusion at any cost. But this is the shallowness of all these people. And he is an avowed supporter of Khalistan. And we have some other lumpens in California. I would like to touch upon this. And these people span party lines. One person in Republican Party, one person in Democratic Party. In fact, it is believed that this person in Democratic Party has issued a whip, which has sort of scared many people into voting for the SB-403. My question to you, Utsav, is what is the meaning of so many people abstaining? What was the ploy behind that? 27 abstained.
I just think that, there are enough representatives in California at this point of time who understand the toxic nature of the bill that was passed, and who understand that they would harm the Hindu American community especially, and the overall Indian American and South Asian community. This is a hate bill that was just passed. But the reason for abstention, I think, are twofold. Number one, they understand that this is toxic, so they don't want to support it. But they're also afraid of the general nature of the hounding, the public shaming and hounding that these extremists do within California, and the amount of control they have over the narrative in many of these places, that representatives are sometimes just afraid to talk about it. They just either run from it, or they just quietly, put their heads down and support it, thinking that nobody is watching.
This is where your role as a viewer comes into play, dear viewer. Organizations like HinduAction and even P-Gurus, we are completely dependent on your support to further your cause. I mean, Utsav is full-time into this. He is knocking on doors of congressmen, senators, trying to show the real picture. And these people are being paid to do the same, and they get paid a lot of money to do the same. So we are fighting an asymmetric battle. All I can tell you is, please consider donating to HinduAction. We'll give the details in the description section. I'll get it from Utsav and pass it on to you folks, because this is something now it is coming to the front burner. And again, like I said, who is telling from the Central Democratic Party to tell the California leadership that you need to have this thing done? I have a theory here. I'm going to run it by you, Utsav, and you tell me if you agree with it or not. See, the thing about the current democratic setup in the Washington, D.C. area is that some in the administration were not happy that Modi went and purchased so much crude from Russia for a discounted price, in the process insulating to some extent India from the inflationary tendencies that we are seeing everywhere else. Now, they don't have a way to hit at India that way, so they are trying to use something else to get back at him. The unfortunate thing is, it is taking direct aim at some of the most productive elements in the American society. I mean, less than 1% population contributes to 6% of America's tax base. Why are they doing this? I mean, this is going to have consequences. There will be other countries where people who have made money can take it and then start over again and be just as successful for that country. What are your thoughts, Utsav?
So I completely agree with you. That is, I believe, just one part of a bigger concern. And the bigger concern is that they are not only concerned about the current geopolitical situation vis-a-vis India and the United States, where India has taken a far more independent foreign policy posture with regards to the conflict in Europe between NATO and Russia in Ukraine. Modi has also exhibited a very strong desire to have independent economic policies that are solely focused on benefiting India and nobody else. So that is another. Exactly, what's wrong with that? So those are some of the current geopolitical issues that are causing this kind of a support against Indian Americans. But that is not all. I think within America and within American socio-political structure, there is an envy against American Hindus, the rise of American Hindus as an immigrant community in this country, and their success as an immigrant community in this country. There is an envy. And there are multiple actors who have different reasons to go and target the American Hindu community. That, in conjunction with the geopolitical current scenario, adds up to the perfect storm of what SB-403 is against the community. So when I talk about the envy, let's focus on that part. There are multiple power structures in America that really don't want to see the Indian America or the Hindu American community succeed. That includes Islamists, that includes the extreme right fringe of the Christian fundamentalist groups, that includes people from the extreme left who do not want to see a successful non-white minority because it doesn't fit into their narrative of color scheme-based politics. So there are these multiple power centers that are actually across the ideological spectrum, from the extreme right to the extreme left, and things in between, and corporate executives who just don't want to see an Indian CEO out there. So this addition of all these different elements who are sometimes at loggerheads with each other, but when it comes to American Hindus and when it comes to Indian Americans, they're joining their forces to target them and cut their legs off. And what you see with the passage of SB-403 in California is just one of the successful efforts in that direction. In my understanding, this is going to expand across America and take different shapes and forms depending on which ideological group in the spectrum is pushing it. But the target will always be the American Hindu and the Indian American community. And that is actually the entire concern, in my opinion. So it is not just, as you pointed out, it's very relevant, the point that you made about India's current geopolitical posture vis-a-vis NATO versus Russia conflict, but it also America's internal socio-political posture towards American Hindus that adds up to this issue.
50 years ago, 100 years ago, the Jews faced the same kind of a problem.
Absolutely.
Right? How did they come out of it?
So to be honest with you, I don't think that the Jews fully came out of it. I think the Jews are also kind of in a state of flux. where there was a generation of Jews in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s that successfully was able to push back against this kind of almost similar approach towards their successful minority-based, success story, to put it plainly. But they do also face backlash. I mean, there is a current generation of Jews that hates Israel. There is a current generation of Jewish community in America that doesn't want to see a fellow Jew succeed. So they are also dealing, and especially in universities, it is very prevalent. So they are also struggling with this, and with the rise of the Islamists in America in terms of numbers as well as power, the Jewish community is also facing a lot of this threat that we are facing. But the only difference is that they have structures. The Jews have structures in place to fight this. They have resources allocated for more than 3 generations in millions of dollars that is able to deal with this. Our community is struggling with it even more because, first of all, this attack is happening over a very small space of time. So the pressure is more. And our Hindu American community is not geared to deal with it because we don't have the structure in place, the advocacy groups in place, the legislative power centers in place to deal with it. So we are kind of getting beaten up, as you can put it.
Yes, indeed. And Indian Americans are reorganizing. It's just going to take a little bit of time before you start seeing the fruit of their effort. Utsav, thank you so much. Let's take a few questions now. First question from Jyotish J. Sir, what do you say about SB-403 bill passed by California? It still needs to be signed by the governor. Go ahead, Utsav.
So this was expected. Over the last 6 to 8 months, we were observing that there is a confluence of power centers coming together against the Indian American and the Hindu American community on SB-403. So we kind of knew this will pass through. The challenge here is that now it's up to the governor to ratify it. And I'm not sure if the governor is that eager to do it, because while you can have propagandists influence smaller level lawmakers, it is harder to influence a governor of a state through that kind of propaganda. So it needs to be seen. Let's see what happens. I really commend all the Hindu organizations that have worked in California. They were fighting against terrible odds, and I hope they will continue to do a good job.
Next question, please. Before daydreaming about Khalistan, these arrogant Jat Sikhs should first save. It's not all. Please understand, Rahul. It's not all. Only a small, very, very small, minuscule minorities should first save their religion in Punjab, which may soon become Christian majority, and Ravidas may separate from Sikhs. Your views, sir?
So first of all, I would want to say that at this point of time, and I've reiterated this in many places, the Khalistanis are a cult. They are not part of mainstream Sikhi. There's nothing in the Sikh history, there is nothing in Jat history for that matter, that lends them into becoming the kind of hateful cult that they have become. So I think Khalistan is a fringe cult movement, mostly situated outside of India. Many of the younger generation Khalistanis can't even read Gurmukhi, or they have never read the Granth Sahib. They're just propagandists with a lot of hate for everything India and Hindus, and the younger generation is more hateful of Hindus rather than India. So it's a sad story. It's a really, really sad state of affairs, and it's what it is. It's a cult movement. Now, when it comes to the religions and the spread of evangelist groups, especially Protestant evangelist groups in Punjab, what happens is that when your society gets detached from spirituality, which was, both Sikh and Hindu traditions are deeply rooted in spirituality and are deeply rooted in the concept of dharma and bhakti, especially in Punjab. I mean, all the Sikh gurus were bhakti gurus until the Khalsa Panth came, and then they were still bhakti and warrior gurus. So when you lose that connection with the Sanatan heritage, then it is easier for somebody else to pounce upon you and take you away from the roots even further. And that is what is happening in Punjab in many ways. And the Khalistanis are perfectly fine with it, because that cult's hatred for Hindus and India is so strong that they will go to any extent and embrace anything to you, as you saw from the Xi Jinping letter. Like, they will do anything just to spite on their fellow Indians. And it's almost in this case, cutting your own nose to spite on your face.
Astika and Nastika wants to know, before amendment, the bill was defining what Hinduism is, which is illegal. Hence, it can easily be struck down by court. After amendment, caste is still there. Was pushing for change a mistake?
See, that's a very good question. Now, these are tactical moves that, in my opinion, I think pushing for change was a mistake. But again, somebody would say that it's better to have incremental sanitation done rather than, because you're never sure if something is going to be accepted in its entirety if it's bad, or something is going to be rejected in its entirety if it's bad. So I personally believe that it would have been better that the courts would have dealt with it in a far more illegal, for being far more illegal than what it is right now. It's still illegal in many ways, I believe. But, it's my personal opinion. Some others may disagree with me.
Next question, please. Romi Bhutani wants to know, why don't you push Hindu-Jew combination?
So there is a lot of confluence of energy and efforts between Hindus and Jews, primarily because, both communities are not very aggressively proselytizing communities. Both communities share a 3,000-plus-year-old history. The Jews were the only community, that the Hindus were the only community in the world that gave shelter. The Hindu kings gave shelter to Jews throughout history, just like Hindu kings gave shelter to the Zoroastrians from Persia. So there is a very good understanding of the nature of the relationship between the two communities going back in history. And that is why, if you saw the latest Pew survey, India has one of the highest approval ratings in Israel. It's about 70% plus in Israel of any foreign country that Israelis have opinion on. So there is a confluence of Hindu and Jewish efforts. The challenge here is that you cannot depend on just your friendly community to carry your weight. There are 4.5 million American Hindus. With the American Hindus who are the CEOs of the top Fortune 500 companies. Why do we need to just always be looking to somebody else to help us? I mean, our effort is to build partnership, not just with the Jews, but with every sane-minded person, including Muslims, who are out there to deal with the problems we are facing. But the challenge here is that you need to stand on your own leg before you go and hold hands with somebody else. And that has been a big challenge for the community. Our community is unwilling to do that.
Next one, T. Padma wants to know, what is the probability that the governor will not sign the bill? It's almost zero.
I wouldn't say so. Let's see where the chips fall. Because, I think there is a possibility that the governor will see through this. In UK, a similar effort was made. And then ultimately, the government of UK just didn't implement it because they woke up to the reality that there's nothing called caste. The word caste is a word that changes with every 100 miles in India itself. Forget about UK and America. So I hope eventually that reality will sink in. But, even in India, every 100 miles, caste means something else. And every definition of caste changes. So, you know what? Let's see what happens. We will hope for the best.
Next one, Bharatam wants to know, will this bill extend to all other states, sir? Yes, Oregon is trying to do a submarine bill, which will not even be read in public, is what I'm hearing. Do you have any idea on that one, Utsav?
Yes, it is going to be in many other states. The work is already going on. As again, we are fighting a battle that was already lost day before, 6 months ago. This is actually being worked on in many other states. The challenge we face is that we don't even know how bad it is going to look in many of these states. But, let's hope for the best. And I think many of the organizations who are working on this know this.
Next one, please. Last question. Sir, one important question from Sugandha Dubey. Please push the process of NRIs to be able to vote for the elections next year. It's a huge number of us who should not be left out just because we are away.
I don't carry any weight with the government of India, but I do believe it's a good idea. I've been living in the United States for the last 22 plus years. So I hope that it works out, and I wish it happens. But I think somebody from India is listening who is in election commission or who is involved in this kind of structure processing this. Let them talk about it.
Thank you so much, Utsav. And viewers, you've heard it from the man. He is tirelessly working for our cause. He's been involved in many efforts, and please support HinduAction. They are one of the few voices out there that give you the data that backs up their claims, and it's very, very responsible in that way. Utsav, all the best to you for HinduAction. And again, viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Namaskar, everybody, and thank you, Shri. Thank you for being a friend.